Hello and welcome to Tlhalosement Education. I'm Boitumelo Marope. I should remind you that this video is part of the series titled Career Growth Opportunities in the Future and Beyond. If you're new here, welcome and please do subscribe. And if you're a Tlhalosmentator, it's an honor to have you back. In this video, we will be discussing the most viable careers in education and content creation. Let's get started. Before we dive in, let's look at why would you want to pursue a career in education and content creation. This is simply because there is digital transformation. We did mention that in the previous video, and now there is demand for content online. And because that space was not well developed before the 4IR, there is demand for people with skills of creating online content. So why would you consider a career in education and content creation? Number one, the career space is highly competitive when it comes to compensation. So because of that scarcity of lack of people who are doing this kind of jobs, there is actually good compensation for people who are available to be active in this space. And you can easily get an entry-level job. So it's not a hassle that much to get an entry-level job, especially if you have polished your skills. There is rapid career progression. You can hop from one project to the other, and because of those small contract-based project jobs, you can get to see yourself up the career ladder very fast. And the good thing is that the job is fun and interesting and it's challenging. So you will constantly enjoy your work because you are working from project to project, working on interesting things. Another thing is that it has constant growth, so you will never stop learning. So you will always learn the new technology, the new skills, and then once you are within the career itself, the career space, you will now see other branches where you can branch into and grow your career. And another good thing is that it has flexible work place. So you can have a remote job, or you can have a hybrid space, or on-site. But I must say most jobs right now, they have a hybrid method, even though their companies are getting comfortable with doing completely remote. So now the next thing we're going to look is the gist of work in education. This is simply for you to make sure that you are aware of the work that you'll be expected to do and now gauge if you are interested in that kind of a job. The things that you'll be expected to do is either you'll be expected to facilitate the learning activities, or you will be expected to create or process learning material, or do both. So by facilitating a learning activity, I'm talking about conducting a class. You should be comfortable with standing in front of a class and teaching. And then when it comes to creating or processing learning material, it means you creating the learning material from conceptualization. And then with processing, it means maybe editing that video or editing the script. And in most jobs, you're expected to do both. Looking at the general requirements, you can do this kind of a job with any discipline background. So because education is universal, there is the need for education across all disciplines. So any discipline qualifies you to be part of this. And the other thing is you don't need a tertiary qualification. So you can teach even if you don't have a tertiary qualification. But if you have, that will be an added advantage. So the other careers that will put you in the front line are the degree in linguistics, or if you have a postgraduate research experience. Like even if, for example, let's say you did science and then you did your honors in science, doesn't matter any discipline or any background, it's fine. As long as you have done research at postgraduate level, you will be able to take up this job. Another thing is little to no formal work experience. So by this one, I'm talking about people who are doing blogs, like for example, myself right now, as I'm doing this Tlhalosement thing, me doing this, it's adequate enough to lend me an entry-level job. Like I mentioned, Tlhalosement, we're talking passion project or voluntary work. Maybe you volunteered at a learning center and you can actually get a job in this space. Another one is that you should have good communication and articulation. You should be able to explain complex concepts to your students. Imagine if you are a teacher, you don't understand what you're talking about. How are your students going to be able to understand? And another thing is that you should be able to describe creative work, especially if you are going to be a learning designer. You need to be able to describe what is it that you have in your head, the ideas you have in your head. You must be able to describe them to a graphic designer who will be designing the creatives for you. You must have basic agile project management experience. This is because you will be working from one project to the other, so you must be able to meet deadlines and also manage your personal capacity. You don't want to find yourself accepting to take up work and then you are not able to do it because you agreed to doing a whole lot of things at once. You are one person. You should know that and say, okay, this one I'll be able to finish in 2 days. This one I'll be able to finish in 3 hours. So that you should be able to do. Another thing is personal management. Actually, this one ties back to project management itself. You should have organizational skills, time management, and you must be committed and dedicated to your work, especially if you are working remote. No one will be behind you telling you, Butumelo, you must do this, you must do that, because they gave you the deadline. So you must be able to meet the deadline. That is on you. That's your personal management. The last one on the list is the ability to collaborate with others. Collaboration skills. I must say, if you have mastered personal management and personal capacity management, this one will come in just natural, because now you are able to say when are you able to finish a certain task, and now you are able to say, yes, I can help you, or please help me with this other task. So mastering your personal capacity management is very important because it will allow you to be a very collaborative person. In addition to that, you may find yourself working with subject matter experts. These are people who know more about the subject matter of the project you're working on. So you need to be very collaborative with them so that you can get the content or any other expertise or direction of the project from them. In the next section of this video, we will look into career paths and discuss other titles, the requirements, the duties, as well as the compensation model. The first career path I'm going to look into is teach online. For this one, I will talk about two parallel opportunities. So the first one is teach English online to non-English speakers, and the other one is when you are teaching a hobby. So with teaching English online, this is the most common one. Is actually there are companies and agencies insourcing people for teaching English online, but you can also teach a hobby. I know there are people who are doing art and fitness classes online, so you can actually teach a hobby online. So let's look at the most common titles for this one. You can be called a tutor, a coach, or a mentor. So when you are looking for these kind of jobs, look for these titles. The first requirement you will need is the English proficiency certificate. This is the certificate that will allow you to teach English as a foreign language. So you can be teaching English in foreign countries to people who don't speak English, or this certificate will also help you to conduct your online classes, because you want to be teaching with a universal language that everyone can understand. Then the next one is if you have a good track record or reputation, especially if you are teaching a skill. So you don't necessarily need a college degree or anything for this one. If you have done so much work in the space and then you have awards and you are the one person who's well recognized in that space, let's talk about, for example, music, you can actually teach music to students in that way. Another one is that you need to have video conferencing expertise. This is simply because you will be teaching online, so you should be able to use tools like Zoom. So what is it that you'll be expected to do? You should be able to prepare lesson plans. So you don't just rock up to class. You must have a plan for each lesson, and then your students must be aware of what is coming next. The next thing is you should be able to manage learning material. Even if you don't create the learning material yourself, you should be able to manage it. Like, for example, make copies available online if students have to download a workbook or something that they have to work on. And then you must be able to conduct a lesson. At some point, you have to do demonstrations, like I mentioned, fitness classes and music. You must be able to be comfortable in being in front of a class and showing people how things are done. Another thing is that you must be able to provide support. So you'll be expected to answer questions, or if a student cannot log into the class, you must be able to assist that student logging in. The next career path is if you are a learning facilitator. So learning facilitator is someone who conducts learning programs. Just to differentiate between teaching online and this one, their learning programs are solution orientated. Even if there may be no solution at the end of the session, there will be a step-by-step solution approach to the problem. Companies in-source learning facilitators to actually improve the skills of their employees. With learning facilitator, other job titles that we're looking into is L&D facilitator, or you can be called a trainer or an instructor, training specialist, workshop specialist, or a mentor. This one is actually, it's a little bit of an outlier, the mentor one, but look into that when you are searching for these jobs, because you'll never know. Other companies are not really informed about the titles in the space, and they will just put whatever comes to mind first. The job requirements, you must have a facilitator certificate, even though this one is not really a must, because you can actually start facilitating if you have a minimum of 1 to 3 years of training experience. So if you have been a facilitator in the space, even if you don't have a facilitator certificate, you will be able to get a job. But I must mention that facilitator certificate is not difficult to get it. I know if you are in South Africa, if you go to Services SETA website, you will see prompts into how you can actually get your facilitator certificate. And there are many agencies and private companies actually training people to do facilitation. I saw another video on YouTube. The lady said that she paid 2,000 Rand for a certificate. So it's not difficult to get the certificate. Another thing that you should have is subject matter expertise. With this one, let's say, for example, you will be a facilitator for a first aid course. So you must know about first aid. We don't want you to be teaching people about things you also don't know. So you must have subject matter expertise. The question is, what is it that you'll be doing as a facilitator? You will be facilitating workshops, instructor-led short courses, and skills development trainings. So you will be facilitating programs that are being assigned to you by the company you're working with to develop the employees. Your day-to-day job, again, will be preparing lesson plans and conducting those lessons. And then you'll be also expected to provide a support. So this one, actually, learning facilitating, is almost similar to that one of teaching online. And again, you'll be expected to do demonstrations. So this compensation model, actually, it's for both teaching online and when you are being a facilitator. So I crawled this data from 10 sources, and there is another one, PayScale and talent.com. Those are the sources I used. And then at an average, we are looking at 20,000 to 30,000 Rand per month if you are insourced by a company. And then you can have an annual package that goes up to 350K. So it's actually a good paying space, especially for entry-level jobs. Remember, this video is tailored for entry-level jobs, which means that if you have been in the space and then you have more expertise and experience, you can actually have more than what I'm showing right now. And if you are freelancing, you can charge from 200 to 500 per hour, and your package can go as far as 420k per annum, because remember that one, if you are insourced, there are other benefits you are getting from the company, like your medical aid and your provident fund. But if you are freelancing, you determine how much you want to be paid so that you can also afford to do other things. Career path number 3 on the list, we have instructional designer. This one I actually put it as instructional designer and learning experience designers. That's simply because there is some kind of controversy in this space, even among the community of learning experience itself. Some people want to be called learning experience designers. Some people want to be called instructional designers. But I'm not going to go through that rabbit hole for this one. I'm just going to tell you about the job, what it entails. So instructional design is the science of creating learning material. As an instructional designer, you will be responsible for designing a learning curriculum. Your job is to create a thought-through learning experience that delivers the intended learning solution. So this could be through online courses, infographics, video presentations, e-learning activities and simulations, or even case studies and scenario-based activities. Other job titles in the space that we see is that people are being called e-learning designers, learning content creator, learning developer, e-learning producer, and I saw this other interesting one. It's called the learning architect. It was for the first time seeing this one. I had to put it here. And then your job requirements, you must know about the learning principles, the instructional design principles, and the tools. In a separate video, I will cover what is expected, but for now I'm just gonna brush it through. Another thing, you must have an ID qualification. You can actually get qualified as an ID, or if you have a PGCE certificate, you can actually land your job in this space. You must have good research skills. Remember when I spoke about the general requirements, I mentioned that if you have a postgraduate research experience, you can get a job because they want someone with good research skills. And another thing is that you must be detail orientated. You don't want to find yourself with graphics that are confusing people or learning material that is very confusing. So you must be able to pick up the mistakes within your scripts or within your designs. And you must have subject matter expertise. Actually, this one, as you can see, I put a star next to it. It's not really a must. What you have to do is you must be learnable. You must be someone who can understand things very quickly, understand what is expected of you so that you can make the material. But learning designers create material across all disciplines, across all subjects. You don't necessarily need to know about it. But if you know about the subject matter, you will have an added advantage. For example, if you are from the finance industry and then you are creating a learning material for a bank, so that job will be easier for you to do because you know what you're talking about. So now let's look at what is it that you'll be expected to do at the job on everyday basis. So you'll be expected to create and maintain learning material. So we're talking about the material for workshops, boot camps, short courses, and even creating curriculums. The next thing is that you'll be expected to create the learning experience. Like I mentioned, create the curriculum, and even you'll also have to have the learner's cap on and think of how would a learner want to learn this lesson that I'm creating. And also you'll be expected to conceptualize the graphics. So if you have a learning activity that you want to create and you are thinking that there should be a kid sitting on the desk with a pen, you are going to conceptualize that graphic and tell your graphic designer to design it if you are forming part of a team with a graphic designer. But if there is no such, that's on you. You should create that graphic. You will also expected to do content research. That is, if you are working with a subject matter that you are not familiar with, you will have to go onto the net and look for the content. Even if you are familiar with it, just to double check your facts and make sure that you are actually teaching the right things. The next thing that you'll be expected to do is to evaluate the learning solution. So at the end of the course itself, let's say you were rolling out the course, you must be able to go back and evaluate how did the learners do. Did they find it easy or did they find it confusing? And if there is something that needs to be fixed, you are going to fix it. The fourth career path on the line, we have a technical writer. So technical writers are people who communicate technical information. They are the ones who create technical documents and write content about the products. So this could be someone who do content for instruments, devices, or maybe a washing machine, you'll never know. So they also create instruction manuals and user guides. They also create things like your info packs, info leaflets, knowledge bases, and stuff like that. So other titles for this one is that you will be called a content creator. I didn't see any other title. If you know any other title for technical writers, please drop it in the comment section. So the job requirement, you must have a copywriting course or similar. Although your experience can actually get you to this type of a job. Maybe you have been a blogger for some time. So the very important thing that you should have is descriptive writing, because now you'll be creating content for, let's say, devices. For example, if you buy a new laptop, it will come with a booklet, right? That is something that is being produced by a technical writer. So you must be able to describe the product you are writing about. You must be detail orientated. Actually, I purchased a new device, and then I realized that in one of the illustrations, they didn't label the parts correctly, so it was very confusing. So you must have a clear understanding and knowledge of the product. Even if you are not familiar with the space itself, make sure that you spend time with the subject matter expert and you understand and have knowledge about the product. You must have in-depth knowledge of the product's industry, because you'll be writing booklets about this. Like I said, if you don't have much expertise, spend time with the subject matter expert and know about this. Like you can see, I put a star there. It's not really important for you to have the in-depth knowledge, but make sure that you do your research, and this is what you'll be doing. You will be creating booklets, the how-to guides and illustrations. You will be creating info packs, for example, safety material sheets. Let's say, for example, you are buying a gas heater. So before you start using your gas heater, you must go through the safety information. So this is something that will be written by a technical writer. Product knowledge base, for example, if it's a software product, they have the knowledge base within their website. That's where all the users go to and learn how to use the software. Not really, but you may be asked to write a journal article. So those are the kind of things that you'll be doing. Number 5 on the list, we have copywriter and a ghostwriter. These two, I put them together because they do almost similar things. So as a copywriter, you will be creating content for marketing space, but as a ghostwriter, you can write across disciplines. You don't necessarily need to be a discipline specific. Copywriters are people who write everything that has to do with creative work. So you see your websites, advertisements, there is someone who's doing the graphics, but there is someone in charge of writing the words, the copy itself. That's a copywriter. So as a ghostwriter, you will write things like books. Maybe you write a book for someone, you don't publish it on your name, somebody else takes the credit for the book, but you are the one who wrote it. So that's a ghostwriter. The other job titles that you can look out for when you're looking for this one, you can look for journalist jobs, or you look for sales or marketing writer, content creator, or the white labeling writer. So your job requirements is that you're expected to know about writing. You should have a writing experience. And another good one is SEO. SEO actually will put you in the front line, especially if you are pursuing that one of copywriting is in the marketing space. SEO stands for search engine optimization. So if you are able to write a copy that is also search engine optimized, which means that it is easily accessible when someone searches for it in Google, so you'll be creating good quality content. You can actually even go to a space like Google Garage and get a free certificate on SEO and put it into your writing experience just to boost up your profile. So what is it that you'll be doing every day? You'll be expected to write advertisement and sales scripts. Website copy. Website copy is if you are working with website developers. Most developers are not really good writers, so most of the time they insource someone to help them with writing the copy. So you see on those sales pages, your front page, all the other pages in your website, there is some wording that is written by a copywriter, not a web developer. So a web developer will just create a structure of the website, but a copywriter will come and do the writing. And then we also have PR releases. Let's say maybe you're working with a marketing company and then it's representing their clients in the PR space. So you'll be expected to be the one coming up with the copy for the PR release. You can also do social media. Like you see, social media is a thing now. We see people becoming social media managers. So people who write all those captions and write things on your newsletters, it's somebody who did copywriting. And books, especially with ghostwriters, you can have those white labeled books. So the compensation, I put these ones together because it's almost similar. So if you are insourced, you are looking at about 150 to 300 rand per hour, and then that takes you to about a space of 350 per annum if you are insourced. But this is for an entry level job. I've seen other jobs for people with experience take up even higher than that 350k per annum. And then if you are freelancing, remember when you are freelancing, you're making your own money in your own terms. So you can actually charge from 200 to 500 per hour, which can also take you up to about 800k per annum. And we have a bonus on the list. This one actually is a supporting role for all the other careers that I've been mentioning, a content editor. Some companies actually do have financial muscle to insource an extra personnel to support all the other creatives in the team. So this is someone who will be editing all the content that is being created by copywriters, ghostwriters, instructional designers. So you will be editing the content created by the people who are creating the content. So look out for this one too. Looking at other titles with this one, I could only find copy editor. I don't know if you guys know any other title, drop it down there. So your job requirements, we're looking at language comprehension and grammar. This is someone who actually studied the English language. So you must be a very good English speaker. So if you have a linguistic degree, that will actually put you in the front line, but it's not really necessary. If you have past experience of doing the work, you will actually get a job. The good thing about this one is that there is no need for you to have subject matter expertise. However, it helps if you know what is written about. So you must spend time learning about the subject matter so that you also help with choice of words. You can imagine if you're editing a story written about the sun, you should know about the sun so that you are able to help with choice of words. The sun, that's actually a very scientific example. Okay, let's look at what you'll be doing. You will be editing content. That's the gist of your work. And you should be able to adapt content to company's voice, tone, and style. So usually companies have a writing style guide. So you should be able to take whatever is written and adapt it to the company's style guide. So the compensation, we are looking at an average pay range of 120 per hour. So we are talking about between 240K to 350K per annum. So that's a pretty good range for you. We have come to the end of our video, and if you know of other education and content creation careers, please do share them in the comment section, and I will make sure that I cover them in our upcoming videos. If you found this video very informative, share it with your friends, your family, anyone whom you know that will benefit from this content. Don't forget to support the channel by subscribing. That subscription means a lot. Until next time, keep believing. Bye-bye. Bye. Bye.